Hey, what's going on, guys? This is New Deal here. I thought I would create a elections prediction video for the upcoming midterm elections in November. So we're going to go through some of those races right now, and let's check those out. So up first, we've got the gubernatorial races, which I think are shaping up to be pretty good for the Democrats. As you can see, I've got Democrats having sort of a mini blue wave here in the Midwest. I think Trump's tariffs and just a lot of the empty promises that Trump has made has really soured people in that Midwest Rust Belt area. So if you look at polling, I mean, you've got Tony Evers doing great in Wisconsin, which would be great for liberal activists and progressive activists like myself who have wanted to see Scott Walker taken out for, geez, just so many years. He's been a problem. But even if you look at Iowa and Minnesota, also, the soybean tariffs have really hurt the rural farming communities in these areas. So if you look at the polling, uh, I believe his name is Hubble. I can't quite remember the first name, but he's doing quite well in Iowa, and also in Illinois, you've got Democrats leading, and Michigan, and it's pretty tight in Ohio as well. But I think Democrats are really going to prevail. They're polling really well in the Midwest. Pennsylvania, I think they'll hold on as well. And then the really interesting races are the southern races here in Georgia and Florida, where you've got two historic black progressive candidates who are polling very well when a lot of people have counted them out. And you got Stacey Abrams running against Kemp in Georgia and Andrew Gillum running against Rick Scott in Florida. And I think both of those races they're pretty close. But again, I mean, polling has looked really strong for these Democratic governors. So, and I think it's really going to help Gillum and Bill Nelson running together to bring out that base. So that might be something you'll see in the Senate as well, with Bill Nelson riding on the coattails of Andrew Gillum, hopefully to victory. So we'll see. Uh, Everywhere else, it's pretty much what you would expect. I don't see really too many major upsets in any of the other states. There's a close one in Arizona, but I think Ducey's got that. And you got the popular Republican governors in New England, which I think they'll do pretty well. I think you'll see Baker win in Massachusetts and Hogan as well in Maryland. So Democrats, they're going to do very well, I think, in the governor races. You might see 23, maybe not higher. One race I want to do look at is Oklahoma. The governor there, Mary Fallin, is very unpopular. The Republicans have just totally wiped out the state budget for things like roads and public education. So I think Democrats, they've got a really strong candidate, and I think that's another possible pickup. But it's Oklahoma, so we'll see. But yeah, I think Democrats are going to do very strongly in these gubernatorial races, so that'll be something to look at. Moving on to the House, it's really hard to just focus in on a couple of races, but here's my projections right here. I think Democrats, it's a pretty safe bet at this point, even if you're just mildly cautious about the possibilities for Democrats. I think they've got just a nearly a 95% chance of taking the House. I mean, unless something just completely drastic happens, I don't see how the Republicans are able to hold on to the House, especially with all this Supreme Court stuff going on. I think it's really going to turn off a lot of these voters in suburban districts. So, I mean, it's not really worth the time to just focus on any one House race. You can just see my projections here. Uh, just even a cautious prediction that I've made here, I've got it Democrats at 224 seats, which would be more than enough to take the House, but it could be even higher. Uh, there are a lot of seats that Democrats could pick up that I'm not even really focusing on. There's a couple of seats in Kansas that are good pickup opportunities. Not so much in that Omaha, Nebraska seat, but also the seat in southern West Virginia, the third congressional district. That's kind of a toss up. It's a strong Republican area, but it's got a lot of registered Democrats, and Democrats have a very strong candidate, Richard Ojeda. I think he can pull that off. Same thing in Paul Ryan's old district, but I'm going to go ahead and favor Republicans there. Same with Kentucky 6, Andy Barr. Democrats put together a very strong candidate there, and we'll just see how this all plays out. It's very possible there's a wave, and Democrats could take up to 230, pushing 240 seats. But just a mild prediction here. I think Democrats are going to take the House, and with the potential of even going higher. If they didn't win, like I said, it would be something just that everybody's missing, and it would just be devastating if Democrats didn't win back the House. So that's what I'll say about that for now. I think Democrats are going to do very well. Moving on to the Senate, this is really anybody's guess. It's just a toss-up. There's just no telling how this is going to play out. But as it stands now, Democrats have really improved with their polling numbers. In Florida, with Andrew Gillum now in the race, it really could pull in a lot of the black vote that Bill Nelson is going to need. He's going to beat Rick Scott. And since Andrew Gillum has won the nomination, Bill Nelson, his polling has gone up. If you look at Real Clear Politics, you can see right here that Florida is plus 1.1 for Nelson, which is huge. And as you can see from this Real Clear Politics polling, that it's improved a lot for Democrats. The only races where they trail on the average is Missouri, North Dakota, and Texas, and those races are all very close. But everything else is pulling the way of the Democrats. So for my projections, I've got Democrats picking up House or Senate seats in Arizona, Nevada, holding on to Montana. North Dakota could easily sway the way of the Republicans. Kevin Cramer, he's a pretty good candidate, and North Dakota is very, very much Trump country. But Cramer has kind of put his foot in his mouth the past week over these SCOTUS nominations, being very firm for Kavanaugh and anti Dr. Blasey Ford. And Heidi Heitkamp is a well-known name in North Dakota, so she might be able to eke this one out. But for now, I'm going to call it a toss-up. If I'd have to make a projection now, I'd say Republican. Let's see. Wisconsin, I think Baldwin's going to hold on there. I think Stabenow is going to hold on. Michigan. Indiana is going to be another close one. I think Joe Donnelly is definitely one of the states where Republicans have targeted, but Mike Braun just really hasn't. He hasn't really gotten out there. There's not too much attention on that name. I'm not sure how popular he is. I could be totally wrong, but the very limited polling we've seen come out of Indiana has all been pretty good for Joe Donnelly. And I think Joe Donnelly's pretty well liked. He's a conservative Democrat. He says he's going to vote no on Kavanaugh, so that might change things up a little bit. But I just I see Joe Donnelly pulling out his victory there in Indiana. Ohio, Sherrod Brown has looked very strong in polling. He's very well liked. I mean, I don't even think this is going to be close. Sherrod Brown, he should definitely be looked at as a contender for Democrats in 2020 going forward. Pennsylvania, same thing. Bob Casey, very strong. This was a state that Trump won, but Republicans have failed to put together a very strong ticket there. So I got that one going to Bob Casey. West Virginia, same thing. Joe Manchin, strong candidate. This was a state that Republicans had targeted as it's a huge Trump state where he won. But Patrick Morrissey's got a lot of ties to the pharmaceutical industry, and I think that's going to hurt him in a state that's been ravaged by opioids. And Joe Manchin, he's just very well liked. It might be close, but I don't see that one as a very highly state that could flip. Tennessee is a toss-up. The polling is very close. This should be a state that Republicans win every year, but Phil Bredesen, he's a different kind of Democrat. He's pretty nonpartisan, former governor, very well liked in the state, and the polling has him tied. Real Clear Politics has this state as a tie, which is pretty damning for Republicans. Marsha Blackburn's very partisan, very conservative. May not be a great fit for Tennessee. Uh, Tennessee is a very conservative red state, but there's a lot of liberals in this state too, in Nashville, Memphis area. So if Bredesen can get strong turnout in those urban areas while, holding his own in the more rural conservative parts of the state, I think he's got a very good shot. It's really more of a toss up, but for the sakes of this prediction video, I'm going to go ahead and make it lean Democrat. Texas, this is where I'm from. Boy, I would love it if Beto could pull it out, but I'm just going to be a little bit skeptical at this point. I think anything less than a 10-point victory for Ted Cruz is going to be a huge victory for Texas Democrats. It's the polling has tightened in recent weeks. Beto O'Rourke had a great performance at the first debate. I think he's still got a good shot at winning, but even some of the forecasters like Crystal Ball and Cook's political report has this state as now a toss-up. But for now, I'm going to leave it in the Republicans column, and I'm going to hope that Beto can make it a close race, because that would be really great for the Democrats. Arizona, Kristen Sinema, pretty much a moderate conservative Democrat. She's going up against Martha McSally. This race is going to be very close. Martha McSally is a good candidate. I think Republicans dodged just a very bad thing that might have happened if Kelly Ward or Arpaio had won that nomination. But they got Martha McSally. She's a solid candidate. She could win. I mean, polling was looking pretty close, but I don't think this is one Democrats can take for advantage. It's a toss-up, but as of now, the polling has Sinema up by 2.5. I think she ends up pulling it out, but it's going to be close. Nevada, same thing. It's going to be very close. Dean Heller, he's not very well liked. He was anti-Trump at the beginning. Now he's more of a Trump supporter. This should be a state where the Democrats clean up, as Clinton won Nevada by a pretty good amount. But Jackie Rosen, I don't think she's broken through. She hasn't really made a name for herself the way that other Senate challengers have. But the polling right now, it's got let's see who got me. Yeah, Rosen. She's got a 0.7 lead. So yeah, this one's going to be very close. If I had to make a prediction, I'd go lean Democrat for now, but it's another one that could go either way. Lastly is Missouri. I've got this as just a complete toss-up. I have no idea the way Missouri is going to go. Same with North Dakota. Both of these are just pure toss-ups. I think as you can tell, I've got 50 seats for Democrats at this point, 48 for Republicans. Democrats are going to have to win one of North Dakota or Missouri to win the House. And I think on election night, when you start seeing the returns coming in, the first place I'm going to look is Florida, where if Bill Nelson has got a pretty healthy lead, that's going to be a good signifier of how the night's going to go. And then, I think the ones that are going to be the deciding races are going to be Missouri and North Dakota, because if Claire McCaskill can pull this out, that's going to give Democrats the majority in the House or in the Senate. So, and even if they win both of them, that's an even larger majority. So, the way I look at it, this is what I've got right here. This is my predictions. I think it's going to be a blue wave, or at least what you could consider a blue wave. I don't know if that's +7 Dem, +8, +9, +10. But it's going to be a good night for Democrats with gubernatorial races. It's going to be a great night with the House elections. And then the Senate, it's going to be very close. But I think Democrats can pull the straight flush and get victories in West Virginia, Florida, Indiana, Tennessee, Missouri, Arizona, Nevada, Montana. And I think they'll lose North Dakota and Texas. But it's got the potential to even be more than that. I mean, you've got close races all over the board, so we'll have to just keep an eye on these races and then be prepared for anything on election night. Because if Democrats do as well as I'm predicting in the gubernatorial races, the House race, and the Senate, you could be looking at a clean sweep for Democrats. You could see Democratic House of Representatives, Democratic Senate, which would be a huge, huge blow to the Trump administration. Like we saw in 2010 when Republicans swept to victory with the Tea Party wave, they said that it was the end of the Obama presidency. So I think Democrats have a real great chance to have a similar night on November 6th. And it could be the night that changes everything. It could be the night that ends the Trump presidency. So we'll be looking forward to that. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate you guys if y'all checked it out. I'll probably do some more videos in the future. But yeah, that's it for now. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll catch you guys on the internet.